Right, so tomorrow we're gonna have the Ganyu and Zhongli banner because Shenhe and Zhao already gone. That was a quick couple weeks. I mean, I tried to get Yunjin, she still wasn't coming. I guess I'm to go for the free thing in the Lantern Right event. But we've already done this kind of video in the past. But we're gonna do just one more before the banner comes out because I don't want people to make sure that they know what they're getting, because we're gonna be talking about everything you need to know about Ganyu and Zhongli. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed today's video, you want to support me, feel free to sub, because only a small percent of you guys are subscribed. But you don't have to. I'm just gonna continue making content at the end of the day. I'm gonna be making content to try and help all of you. So let's get into it. So, Ganyu, we've gone through most of this in the past already, but Ganyu, she is a kind of a DPS character, kind of a support. It depends on how you really want to use her. But the main thing I want to focus on in this video as well is characters that they link well with, because they can be good for most teams, but they're also extremely good with some specific characters if you own them. So, for example, if you have a Ganyu, she's gonna work really well if you have Shenhe. I mean, if you're saving up for Ganyu, you might not have Shenhe because you probably didn't roll. You might not have rolled on a banner, but Shenhe, she's good with her, but you don't need her. I've been using Ganyu as my main DPS for over a year now. Yeah, you don't need a Shenhe to do some crazy damage, since you already do well without it. Kazuha, he's an option. Not very many people have him, so again, I wouldn't worry too much about not having a Kazuha on your team. But he is really good if you want to do melt reactions constantly with her, because your other option is Sucrose. Now most people have a Sucrose at this point, probably. And if you run a Sucrose with a 4-piece Viridescent set, you swallow Cryo, your Ganyu's going to be doing pretty well. But that's just for shredding resistances. Now, to buff your Ganyu, a couple of characters I'd recommend maybe having is Kokomi or Mona for freeze reactions. If you don't have either, you can get Xingqiu on the Lantern Right free character. I'd highly recommend him if you don't have him so far. Because, while he's not the best for Ganyu, he's still good at doing freeze reactions with her, so overall, he's pretty good. And last but not least, the other things you want is maybe melt reactions. So, maybe you can have a Zhangling. You will probably have a Zhangling for free. You can do some kind of close-up stuff with her, or your main thing that you probably want is Bennett. Now, I have a Bennett. You might have a Bennett, but I know some of you guys might not have a Bennett. But, if you got a Bennett, yeah, you just win, right? And in terms of weapons, you can use literally anything with her. I use Amos's bow because that's kind of her best bow, but you can use Thundering Pulse, you can use the Skyward Half, I think this was called, I believe. All I'm saying is you can use any bow in the game, really, because you can use Viridescent Hun, Blackcliff, Prototype Crescent I used for the longest time with her, so I can give you the seal of approval there. Prototype Crescent is great. You could use Rust. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it because it decreases your charge attack, but you don't have anything else. Rust's okay, You could use Rust, but, I'd recommend getting an upgrade soon, get off of that. If you want to run her as a support, Stringless is great. Vivonius is also great for support Ganyu. Overall, there's a lot of good options for her, and if you're starting out, if you're a new account, I'd recommend something like Sharpshooter's Oath for her. Yeah, weak point, you're not really hitting many of those often, but the crit damage is pretty decent. I mean, you could also use Slingshot for those close-up reactions with Zhangling as well. I'd recommend that. Overall, the main thing you want to aim for as well is a 4-piece Wanderer's Troop, but I know not very many of you guys will be able to get a very good set of that. It's taken me, since the game was launched to now, to get 4 okay pieces of Wanderer's Troop, so if you can't do that, don't worry too much. I'd recommend going 2-piece, I went 4-piece Blizzard Stray for the longest time. You don't need to get much crit rate, it's a very simple set to use. Or you can use 2-piece Blizzard Strayer and 2-piece Shiminaras or 2-piece Gladiator. Or if you're an early game player, maybe you can use Berserker. It's really up to you what you use. But I would recommend Wanderer's Troop, or then a hybrid of the Freezing set and Gladiators. And in terms of constellations, main thing that people are my friends IRL be talking about is her C1 Dew Drinker. Apparently that is where it's at. It does decrease their cryo res and also gives you a bit of energy, So, I mean, hey, if you want to go for constellations, I'd recommend her C1. C2 is if you use her E quite a lot. Her E is her dash, her dash and taunt. If you like to use that quite a lot, then, I mean, you can. I personally don't use it for damage because I don't see that her do too much damage with it, and I'd rather get more bow shots in. So, I mean, after that, it's just sort of a case of, you know, the rest of the constellations are good, but you don't need them. Her main like big hitter, I think, is her C1. And then her C6 just sort of just lets you to not charge things, which makes it very, very strong. Stronger than she already is. And then talents, you know, I just went all normal attack. No, I'm sorry, but that's the main thing I use her for. If you're running her as a support, though, the bottom two are definitely useful. But if you're running her as like main Unga Bunga DPS, just, you know, just slap normal attack on her all the way to the max. But yeah, that's basically my you know, before you pull Ganyu guide. For Zhongli, he's a bit of a different boat, because Zhongli can be used as either he can be played as a main DPS if you put specific artifacts on him, or you can just run him as a support. I generally run him as a support, and in terms of what characters to run him with, there isn't. You can run him with anyone, like Zhongli with Hu Tao, Zhongli with G. You know, Zhongli, you know, you could even use him as a main DPS. You can any team Zhongli will fit in. Okay, yeah, sure, they're trying to Mihoyo are trying to like weaken the use of shields because it's quite prevalent, but Zhongli is, you can go put him on any team and you'll be very safe. In terms of like the main weapon to equip for him, if you want to do a bit of damage and you don't care too much about your shield strength, because your shield strength is already pretty substantial, if you're going full, if you're going a hybrid of shielding and a bit of geo damage, I'd recommend something like Deathmatch or Blackcliff Polearm, because you get a bit of crit rate and crit damage. Ideally, Blackcliff Pole seems pretty good, so I might try that. But I just run Deathmatch because my Hu Tao has a Blackcliff. If not, I mean, you can use like Prototype Star Glitter or maybe not Crescent Pike, but you know, 5-star weapons are also pretty good. You know, Primordial Jadewing Spear is good. Staff of Homer is amazing on Zhongli because it buffs his damage and it gives him HP. So if you've got Staff of Homer, I mean, you're set. But then again, isn't every character with Staff of Homer set? You can also use the, I mean, Calamity Queller is okay if you really have that, but I mean, did you really pull in Calamity Queller? I don't know. But if not, the main, like, you can literally just use Black Tassel. I know it sounds dumb, you know, oh, Fred, increased damage against slabs, that's kind of ew. But listen, the HP percent you get from Black Tassel, it just buffs his shield massively. Like, let me show you, right? He has 29k, 322 damage. I mean, not damage, HP. Literally, if I put this level 60 Black Tassel on, he gets an extra 4k HP, which I know doesn't sound like too much of an increase, but it increases his shield by a considerable margin. And I think that's pretty good. You'll just do a bit of less damage, but your shield's still going to be okay. Actually, maybe even not, because of his talents, which we'll get onto as well. In terms of artifacts, I went 2-piece Tenacity de Miller, 2-piece Noblesse. That's only because I want to do more burst damage with him. But if you want to do a full support Zhongli build, I'd recommend just doing a 4-piece Tenacity of the Millilith set, because then your party members will get their attack increase, and your Zhongli's shield strength will be increased as well. I might go full supportive Zhongli eventually, so I might go 4-piece Tenacity of the Millilith. But for now, I'm running this with Noblesse. You could run it with a bit of Gladiators as well if you want to do some geo damage, but the main thing you want to get is just HP on him, so that's mainly what I've done. In terms of constellations, increases the amount of stone steals you can have. I personally don't see much damage out of them, but if you see a lot of damage coming up with your stone steals, I mean, hey, it might be a good upgrade, especially if you're running a full geo team especially with Guro, Arataki Iso, Ningguang. Like, if you have a lot of those characters and you're having a lot of constructs on the field, then maybe having this could be beneficial to you. And that's maybe why I don't see much damage, because I don't really run it with a geo team. But if you run it with a geo team, it could be pretty decent. But I'd say make sure that you like your damage output, or you have a team for that mainly. Out of constructing out of geo for that to be beneficial to you. I mean, C2 is if you want to. It's basically like Diana's shield, where she shields everyone. It's great for the Ajdaha fight mainly, or any co-op domain. But again, you need to think: are you really playing a lot on co-op? Because co-op and Genshin, it's a bit dead, mate. Let's be real. So, again, if you play a lot on co-op, it's okay. C4 is just good if you want to use your burst a lot, and then C6 is just it's just basically you win instantly, because if you take damage, it just converts, it just heals you for 40% of damage you take. So, you know, C6 Zhongli, I mean, you're just invincible. You literally cannot die. You're so safe from it, so it's pretty good. Now, in terms of talents, I mean, hey, normal attack I did for the meme, but the main things you want to level up is, if you're using him just for your shielding, I'd recommend just doing this, because it increases your base absorption and increases the ratio between how much HP you need. So I get 20% of my max HP, and at 30k, like 20% of 30 is like you're getting an 8,300 HP shield, which is quite a bit for anyone. Given the fact that end game, like, an average hit will be for, like, I don't know, like, even for a weekly boss, let's say Child, like, Child does a decent amount of damage in his first phase, like, I'm doing, like, 4,000 a hit, you can take a couple hits from Child, which I wish it really makes making me not sell them very well, but listen, right, Zhongli can shield for a lot, and I just recommend leveling up his E, and then his Q if you want to do a bit of damage, because his Q has some of the highest ratio numbers in the game. It does, at level 8, it does 770% damage, which for me isn't a lot because I don't have much attack. I have a decent amount of geo damage. I did build geo damage, built a bit of crit rate on him as well. But another main thing to take into account is the fact your damage is increased the more HP you have. So again, that's why I like to build up my HP on Zhongli, so I can actually do more max HP. But I've also seen hybrid builds where people stack attack and HP together with Staff of Homer to do a lot of damage, so it's something that I need to look into, and something that you might want to look into. But overall, I think it's pretty good. Now, are these two banners really safe to pull on? I'd say yes. Even the characters on them are fairly good, you know, you can get Yarn Fen. I know a lot of people actually kind of want Yarn Face, so I mean, hey, you know, it is what it is. But the main thing is, you know, next banners, next update will be Yae Miko. If you want Yae Miko, I personally would wait a couple weeks, because in a couple weeks time we'll get the rundown of the 2.5 update. Yeah, we're 2.4 now. Yeah, it'll be the 2.5 update. We'll get a rundown of what's in that, so you can make a better judgment then. So I'd recommend waiting a couple weeks if you're a bit hung on the fence between Zhongli or Ganyu and Yae Miko, and maybe what's coming then, because I'm going to predict it now. Rumours are, I'm thinking that they'll either rerun the Raiden Shogun, even though it feels a bit early, maybe Kazuha, and I've heard maybe Ayaka, so I would definitely like keep an eye out for a couple weeks time to see. But if you want these two characters for your team, I'd say they're very safe banners to pull. I'd recommend going all in on it. I'm not going to, because I've already got these characters at C0, but you know, let me know down below, will you guys get these characters? Because I want to know. But I hope everyone's having a great day. Take care, all of you, and I'll see you guys in another video really soon. Have a lovely day, everyone.